Hello, everybody. This is Teresa, Destination Mountaintop, coming at you once again. It is 12:10 a.m. and I just got time to settle down to try to make a quick video. Been a lot going on. You guys just hold me and my family in prayer. We've had a lot going on. I'll update you soon. But I wanted to follow up on the last series we just did, the last two-parter we just did on mental well-being. Because one thing about it is that when we're taking care of our own selves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, we tend to forget about our children. And with children, emotional well-being, mental well-being is just as important as the physical and health and school, and the mental, and their mental stability is just as important. And nowadays we tend to always want to put kids on medication, think they have issues, think that they're overactive. And the truth is, a lot of parents nowadays are just trying to get that check, and they're not thinking of how the medication is affecting the child. It literally turns them into zombies. And that's a concerning thing, because we're having a group of kids that are growing up that the major problem is inconsistency with parenting, ignoring what's going on in parenting, and not taking the time and attention to make sure that our kids are okay. We're so busy and caught up in our own lives that nobody sits down and really, well, I won't say nobody, I'll say many don't sit down and understand how their actions are affecting their children, and how their actions and the things that they're doing are affecting their children. And, when we grew up, I'm 60 years old, and when we grew up, it was a standing rule of a child should be seen, not heard. Um, a lot of things weren't talked about, weren't discussed. We didn't have a right to have opinions. It was, you live in my house, I pay the bills, so your opinion doesn't matter. If we went through something traumatic, divorce, abuse, death, nobody ever talked to us about it in most cases. It was a standing, non-spoken belief that these things didn't affect children, that this was something that they would forget as they grew older. And so many of us who have issues and problems, and are emotionally um, stunted in our growth, and who have communication problems, have problems dealing with our feelings, um, problems reaching out for help, problems communicating, is because of the way that we were raised. We were raised that way. We were raised not to show emotion. We were raised, not to um, communicate. We were raised that, as little girls, if you giggled too loud or if you laughed too loud, you were reprimanded. You were yelled at because you were being silly, you were being foolish, and that was a sign that you were going to be a loose woman. So you didn't dare, laugh too loud or giggle too loud, because it was an offense. Um, you dare not show anger, or you dare not show that you disapproved of something that was said to you by an adult. Um, and we were taught to squash those feelings down. You're getting beat and told at the same time, I dare you to cry. Or you ended up being bipolar because you're getting beat, and it's like, take that look off your face, and you're trying to figure out, what look do I have on my face? And you're getting beat because they're seeing the look on your face as a sign of disrespect. um uh I can remember when we used to come down and visit my grandmother. We lived in California. We come down and visit our grandmother in Garland, Arkansas, and we went to bed with the birds and woke up with the birds. When it was getting dusk dark, that's when those rolling cots came out in the living room, and grandma would sit there and watch TV, and we had to turn our head to that wall, and you bet not turn around to watch what's on that TV. And one of the shows that she used to watch was the Tom Jones show. And he would sing that song, What's New, Pussycat? Whoa. And we were singing that song, and we got the hell beat out of us because I guess to say the word pussycat was considered as a dirty word, you know. Um, I grew up in a family where we didn't talk about our feelings. We didn't talk about, you weren't allowed to talk about emotions. If there was a family issue or a family problem, we were taught, which is a good thing. In one hand, what goes on in our house stays in our house. But the thing is that we didn't even talk about it. If you um, were abused or molested or raped or something like that, um, even if the police were called, then the perpetrator was put in jail, or the police weren't called. Either you would see that person disappear off the scene, or that person would still come around. But all the kids were warned, stay away from Uncle Tommy, or stay away from, this person or that person. We all knew not to go around that person because he would do something nasty to you. But the person who was molested or raped, the child who was molested or raped, nobody ever sat and talked to that child. And let that child talk through their feelings, let that child talk through their emotions. You were taught to shut up about it. It was a shameful thing. And in a lot of cases, you were even taught that it was your fault that you were being fast as a 4-year old and 5-year old and 6 years old. If you weren't being fast, then that wouldn't have happened to you. And all of that compounded, you're seeing your parents get abused a lot of times and misused. You're hearing the fights, you're hearing the cussing, you're seeing the drinking, you're seeing the drug use, you're seeing the revolving door of boyfriends come in and out, or girlfriends come in and out. And you think that because they're little kids, that this doesn't affect them. If it affects you and you're grown, what do you think it does to babies? And they don't even have the mental capacity to put it into words with all of this COVID going on, and the race riots on TV, and all of the things that they're subjected to, the music and the movies and the this and the that. And then the child starts acting out, and you thinking the child is just being bad, but they're not mentally capable um, of putting into words, I'm scared, I'm stressed, I think we all gonna die today. The same thing that you're thinking, but they're not able to um, verbalize that and say that. We need to think about these things when it comes to our children. Um, it's real important. It's very important because a lot of times when a child goes through a very traumatic experience, and a traumatic experience is not always being molested. A traumatic experience for some kids are the loss of a grandmother, or the loss of a mother or father, um, a divorce. Um, you get divorced and the husband just disappears, or the wife disappears, and the children never sees that person again or rarely see them. um, you have a boyfriend or girlfriend that you've lived with for years or been with for years, and your children are used to being around that person, have developed a bond with that person. You break up and you're affected by it, but you think it's not going to affect the kids just because they disappear. It could be moving from a house that you've lived in for years, the neighborhood, the friends, the family. You moved across the country. That affects kids. That's a traumatic experience. A loss of a job, instability, and the kid notices that we don't have food like we used to. Mom and dad are stressed. We can't pay bills. It's cold in the house because the gas is not on, or we don't have lights tonight, or we're eating potatoes again with no meat, and we think that this does not affect kids. When traumatic things happen to people, a lot of times you become emotionally, just like with molestation. In a lot of cases, whatever age that molestation takes place in, you stay mentally, you grow physically, but you stay mentally stuck at that age. You don't mature beyond that age until you learn to deal with that. This is so deep and it's so important, and I hope that I can relate this to you in a way that you will see the importance. And this little first tape video is not going to be long, because I'm going to come back with signs on how to recognize when your kids are in trouble, when their emotional well-being and their mental well-being is in trouble. But in this first one, I kind of just want to reiterate on um, how important it is, how that just because we don't talk about it, it doesn't magically go away. They don't forget it. I listen to my grandkids and my kids bring up things that happened when they were small. And I'm like, you remember that? They remember it vividly, the good things and the bad things. They remember things. There are things that affect them. You're constantly telling a little boy, don't cry. We were raised that if you cried, you were weak, even as girls. It was four of us girls and one brother, and he was next to the baby. But we were raised as girls to be tough. We learned how to cut grass. I remember one summer my mom had us dig up the whole front yard, shake all the grass out, and plant new grass. And we learned how to work on cars from my dad. We learned how to break down a carburetor and a transmission and put it back together. We learned how to change tires. And a lot of times for a female like me, a guy say, well, you don't need me because I'm so independent. But I was raised to where if you don't have a husband, you need to know how to do these things. We moved furniture around. We didn't sit around and wait for nobody. If something needed doing, we girls got in there and we did it. We learned just as well how to move furniture as how to place it, how to decorate a house, how to cook, how to clean. And then we had beauty shop day every Saturday where we did hair, we did manicures on our nails. Our mom taught us how to put on makeup. This is how we grew up. So it made us very kind of independent, and kind of, you don't ask anybody for help, and you don't let anybody know you're struggling. If you're struggling, we were taught, if you're going through a hard time, even if you don't have any food in your house, you get up, you iron your clothes that you do have, you put on your makeup, you fix your hair, and you walk out looking like you got everything. To show weakness was a taboo when we grew up. To cry, to show emotion. So it was very hard for me to learn how to show my feelings, how to show my emotions, how to show vulnerability, because it was a taboo. The way you are raised and the things that you see will affect you either in a negative way or a positive way. And we have to double check the way and the things and the how we're raising our kids. The things that they're exposed to, the things that we allow them to see, the things that have taken place in their life. You don't get a manual when you have a baby that says, this is how you raise this child. A lot of times you make a lot of mistakes, but are you open enough and communicate enough with your babies to say to them, you know what, I was wrong and I'm sorry? How many of you have said to your children when you found out you were wrong, I'm sorry for that? How many of you have sat down and actually talked with your kids and told them, this is what I don't like, this is what I don't like, this is what I don't like. But in turn, they tell you what they don't like. And you hash it out and talk it out. Like I said, back when I first started making these videos, I was telling how when my girls were growing up, if things got crazy and they started acting out and it was problems in school, or it seemed like they were trying to pop off, or just think, it was like I would shut it down. Oh, wait a minute, this is getting out of hand. And a lot of people, the way I raised my girls, they thought it was strange at the time. But I would shut it down. And back then I was doing hair. But I would shut it down. I would not take any clients. I would not answer the phone. Nobody could come knock on my door. My girls went to school and came home. And during that time that they were there and we were together, we would talk it out, boo. We cry, we laugh, we play games, we play, but we talked about whatever issues were going on. And we worked that thing out. I would call it, baby, it's time to get my house in order because things is going crazy. And those times, once everything was back to a normal and I felt the peace in my spirit, then I would open things back up. And I didn't care who you were. It was going to be shut down until me and my girls had a meeting of the mind again. How many of you have shut it down and got your house in order? And that didn't entail me yelling at them, fussing at them, cussing at them. It entailed honest, open communication. Tears sometimes. Yes, it got loud sometimes, but I allowed them to be truthful and I was truthful. And one of the things that we would tell each other is, I love you, but some of the things you do makes me not like you right now. So with that one, I'm going to end this part. That's just a prelude of what we're going to talk about. And when I come back in the next video, we're going to talk about signs to look for. And there are so many when it comes to children and youth. But we're going to talk about those warning signs that may be an indication that things are going on with your child. Then on part 3, we're going to talk about how we can help develop good mental well-being in our children. I'm going to close this out. We're at 19 minutes. And as always, faith, belief for emotion. Remember who you are and whose you are. And thank you for joining me again here at Destination Mountaintop. I'm Teresa, your motivational speaker, your pseudo life skills coach. You have a wonderful day. Bye bye.